welcome to today's topic, which is 7 medical culture norms that are actually bonkers. Have you ever looked around your hospital or clinic and think, wait, is all of this really normal? Whether you're a doctor or a patient, today's video is going to break down 7 of the most toxic, normalized behaviors that are making it absolutely miserable to have medical care today. Let's talk about these myths, why they're so toxic for clinicians and patients, and what we can do instead. I don't want to just leave you hanging and feeling terrible. I want to actually give you some ways to reframe these so that you can start feeling better and start acting differently. Let's get right into it. Myth number 1 is that if you're skipping meals, that means you're a professional. This myth is so ingrained through medical training. If you're really committed, you don't need to eat. Maybe sneak a little cracker here or there, but certainly not take a lunch break. The truth is that hunger doesn't mean we're hustling, doesn't mean we're performing. It just means our body needs fuel. We are human after all. And this myth is so harmful because lack of fuel really impairs our ability to think, to feel, and to regulate our own emotions. Think about how many times we've used the word hangry, right? It's become a word for a reason. But what I want you to do instead is normalize breaks and advocate for protected time to eat for you, your colleagues, and if you're a patient, for your doctor. Understand that if the clinic is closed for a lunch break, that's for a good reason. Or if your doctor's running behind because they had to go out and get something to eat, that probably means that they're coming back better able to serve you in the afternoon. Really, inside, we're all just hangry toddlers. Myth number 2 is that we should never call in sick. The belief is that by calling out, this is a show of weakness, and that you literally need to be dying before you can call out of work. This, of course, is built on the belief that if one person is missing, the whole system is going to crumble. And in some cases, that unfortunately may be true. If the staffing is already stretched really thin, having one more person call out could be very detrimental. But the truth is that coming to work sick is not noble. It's unsafe. You're probably going to spread disease to other people. We don't want a whole medical floor getting gastroenteritis. That'll really mess up the staffing model. And it's also unsafe because you are not going to be making good decisions and providing your best patient care if your body is in an impaired state. So it risks patient health, team health, and it also teaches everyone that we don't have boundaries about our own health, really not modeling good behavior for our patients or for our colleagues. What I want you to do instead is to normalize rest and recovery as part of safety culture. You need to believe that it is an essential part of providing high quality care that you yourself call out sick when you are actually sick. And if the system truly cannot sustain one person calling out sick, that system needs to be revamped. That is a system problem that needs to be solved. So you could also see it as a small act of advocacy that you're highlighting the inadequacies in the system, that it can't have any capacity to tolerate even one person calling out sick. That's a red flag that some of the system's issues need to be addressed. Myth number 3 is that sleep deprivation equals strength. This one is huge and also so ingrained. We glorify the fact that we don't need sleep or that we can stay up for 30 hours in a row. This needs to go. Real clinicians push through exhaustion, right? This is the belief. Just keep going. More Red Bull, more coffee. But the truth is that sleep loss equals impaired judgment. It is known that sleep deprivation affects your brain the same as alcohol. So if we wouldn't work drunk, we shouldn't be working underslept. This is so harmful for reasons I'm sure you can intuit: high error rate, lower compassion, and more burnout. What we need to do is prioritize rest as a clinical skill and quit seeing this as a luxury. This is an essential part of our work. Brain restoration is an essential and important work of the highly complex work that we do in medicine. If you need a little more evidence about how dangerous sleep deprivation is, this is some data from Johns Hopkins that each year 6,000 fatal car crashes are the result of drowsy driving, and that 1 in 25 adults have fallen asleep at the wheel in the past month. That's terrifying. Don't be one of those people. Get your sleep. Myth number 4 is all about documentation. So raise your hand if you've ever done your charts at home. Of course you have. I have too. I have been known to have charts open for weeks, maybe even a month or two sometimes. Because the truth is, we can begin to dread that. And then the more charts that we have open, the more we dread it. And we're just dragging this weight of documentation around. And the myth that we've created is that charting at home is normal. We think this is just part of the job. But the truth is that is unpaid labor that steals your life. And we need to stop normalizing that and start creating systems that actually allow us to finish our work within work hours. This practice is harmful not only because it blurs work-life boundaries, but it also can fuel a lot of resentment towards our work, and that can translate into resentment towards the patient. If you've ever been a patient and kind of felt like your doctor was aggravated that you were even there, it's probably more likely that they're aggravated that they're going to have to spend time writing a note about your visit later tonight. But of course, you just feel like you're just another number and you don't feel like your doctor's being very compassionate. Nobody wants that. It magnified more and more the more we get into this habit of charting at home. So what I want you to do instead is name pajama time as unsustainable practice. We've gotten into this habit. It's a bad one. Whether it's leaving charts open, dragging them around, whether it's completing charts at night, we need to push for protected documentation time. We need to see that as an essential part of the visit, and we need to create systems that allow us to complete our documentation in the visit time or within the workday. Number 5 is that showing emotion equals weakness. The opposite is that if I'm stoic and I have no emotions, I am strong. But the truth is that being moved by suffering means you're being human. And who doesn't want their doctor to be human? This belief is incredibly harmful because it leads us to suppress our emotions. And we can't just selectively blunt. That means that all of our emotions get suppressed and blunted, and our patients feel that. It also isolates us because we can't be who we truly are because we have all of these parts of ourselves that we're trying to hide and section off. So what I want you to do instead is normalize emotional expression and learn how to see your emotions as data and as things that you know how to regulate and work with. Emotions are an incredibly powerful part of our human experience, and we certainly can get led astray if we let our emotions drive the bus. But if we stop listening to emotions, we're losing a lot of good information. When we stop listening to our own emotions, we stop listening to other people's emotions. And often the patients are giving us a lot of emotional data that can be incredibly helpful to our clinical decision-making and to creating connection and trust within the clinical encounter. So we really need to get rid of this myth that emotions equal weakness. Emotions are part of being human, and learning how to recognize, move, and manage emotions is the skill that we probably all need to develop a little bit better. Myth number 6 kind of hurts my heart because I do love yoga. But the myth is that if you're burned out, all you have to do is do some yoga. The belief is that burnout's your fault. So it's your responsibility to fix it. And there's evidence that taking a yoga class helps, so you should do that. We're even going to give you one at lunchtime. Great, we've solved this problem. But the truth is that burnout is systemic. It's not personal. And the reason why this is so harmful is because this gaslights clinicians and delays the needed changes. Now, this does not mean that there are not aspects of your burnout experience or of your dissatisfaction with your job that are not yours to solve. Your relationship with your job, the way that you interact, the way that you manage your emotions, the way that you manage your mindset are all within your control and are things that will make life feel a little bit better and make you feel a little less burned out. But that you shouldn't be led to believe that it's your responsibility alone, and certainly should not be led to believe that one single yoga class is going to fix it all. Yoga as a system of philosophy and a system of living can be incredibly powerful and teaches us a lot about how to live in challenge, do hard things without being consumed by it. However, most yoga classes offered by the Hospital Wellness Committee are not that, and therefore I totally understand when people have negative feelings about them. What I do want you to do is to name the structural issues and advocate along with your wellness. Get yourself into a well state so that you can better advocate for the solutions that are going to make lasting and meaningful change. People are part of the system. You are a part of the system, and you probably have some good ideas about things that can make your workday better, but you need to get yourself into a good state in order to be able to access that. Yoga might be one of the things, but you find the one that works for you. Myth number 7 is that asking for help equals incompetence. This belief is that if you don't know, you don't belong. The truth is that curiosity is professionalism because no one knows it all. The world's knowledge is increasing exponentially. How could we possibly know it all? And yet, we have this belief that we need to know everything, we need to have every answer, we need to always be right. And if we ask for help or say we don't know, that makes us a bad position. This is incredibly harmful because it fuels shame. It actually discourages learning. If you already know everything, what do you have to learn? And it increases errors because you're not going to double check or look up or verify. So what you need to do instead is encourage questions in yourself, in your colleagues, certainly in your learners, and adopt an attitude of collaborative problem solving. We all have different strengths and talents. We all have different knowledge base. We have so many tools at our disposal. Why would we want to leave any of that on the table? Let's utilize everything we have so that we can deliver the best care. And let's partner with the patients. When they ask us about something that we don't know about, let's have the courage to say, I don't know. I'll look that up. Or tell me more. What do you know about that? Let's learn together. Wouldn't these be refreshing changes of pace instead of feeling like we had to know everything and going into a shame spiral if anyone presents us with something that we don't immediately feel highly competent in? Medical rounds are certainly one of the places where this myth has gotten entrenched. I know myself, I have had so many times an attending asked me a question, and if I didn't immediately know the answer, I was dressed down, I was mocked, or I was shamed publicly for that. So obviously, I understand how this behavior gets shaped. But all it takes is one person to respond differently to change the whole game. One time when I said, I'm not really sure about that, and the attending met that with, thank you for your honesty. I really wish more people would admit when they didn't know. What's your plan to find the information? Really some of that Ted Lasso energy, really that I see the best in you and I honor your curiosity and humility. Having that one experience began to make me feel safe again so that I could begin to think about rounds as a learning opportunity instead of a pressure cooker of performance. So if you're in the opportunity of interfacing with learners, maybe try this today. Just take an attitude of playful curiosity whenever someone says they don't know. It might change your life and theirs. So why does this matter for patients? Burned out clinicians equals rushed and reactive care. We are not our best selves if we're acting out of burnout. And this leads to misconnections. And disconnection, lack of trust, lack of rapport leads to so many negative consequences. So much of the missteps in our healthcare system come back to a fundamental lack of rapport and trust between the clinician and the patient. And this can be resolved if we can overcome a lot of these myths. Because these norms hurt everyone. It's not just clinicians that are hurt by this. These beliefs hurt the patients as well as everyone else in the hospital system. And healing starts when we can see clearly and speak up about what's wrong and what we can do instead. I've given you problems and solutions because I want you to know that you are not the problem. You're actually part of the solution. All you have to do is stop normalizing the dysfunction, stop buying into the lie, speak up, point out one of these myths, and then offer one of the reframes that I've already given you. And that will really launch you on to this empowered state of feeling like you're actually part of the solution. You're moving us toward a better state, even if it's in the tiniest little way. Because you deserve better. We all do. The system deserves better. I hope you've enjoyed this video unpacking 7 myths that seem normal but are actually bonkers. I really want to keep this conversation going, so please give me a follow for more truths and reframes, and check out my website